But first, we have some very touching stories from our survivors. And I want to introduce each of them to you, and then we'll go into listening to their stories and get an opportunity to really hear from their perspective how they've been affected. So first, we're going to introduce to you Bob Slaus. He is a recognized authority from a patient's perspective on open heart surgery, as he should be having, he was supervised for 4 procedures. He's a native of the Netherlands. He spent his formative years in Seattle. And in addition to his health challenges, he's also squeezed in several careers. Listen to this. He spent over 30 years traveling the world as an entertainer. He spent 6 years teaching college. He did a stint as a top producing real estate agent. And he even built a website featuring his alter ego, Scrabble Guy. So I'm going to look that up later. Bob currently plays bass guitar with the Beer Barrel Boys and that band. And he can still beat anybody, he claims, in the game of horse, except for Michael Jordan. Bob's passion is in helping others get their story out, and you're going to really enjoy hearing from him. Brian Winslow is the next survivor that we're going to hear from. He grew up in Greenfield, Massachusetts, and played just about any sport that he possibly could, but his passion was in baseball. He played on several tournament teams in high school, and he played varsity baseball at Greenfield High School. He currently resides in Northfield, Massachusetts with his wife, Stephanie, who is an experienced emergency room nurse. They have twin 6-year-old boys, Sean and Colin, who, as you guessed, are very active in sports. And the twins' best coach they've ever had has been Brian Winslow. So going to look forward to hearing that athletic story from his perspective. And then another athlete on the list of survivors is Cameron Smith. Cameron of the Minnesota Vikings made his NFL debut versus the Philadelphia Eagles on October 13th, 2019. He was drafted by the Vikings in the 5th round of the 2019 NFL draft. The linebacker had 2 stints on the Vikings roster in 2019, appearing both on defense and special teams. The former 4-star prospect was an early enrollee at USC in 2015, which set him up to become a starter as a true freshman. And according to USCFootball.com, he was amazing. He finished his rookie campaign as a Pac-12 Defensive Freshman of the Year and was named a Freshman All-American. Smith went on to be a 4-year starter and 2-year team captain for the Trojans. He totaled 354 tackles during his collegiate career and led USC in tackles for 3 straight seasons. In fact, he was the first player to do that in over 40 years. Off the field, Smith earned his degree in communications in May of 2018. His grandfather, he's got athleticism that runs in the family, played basketball at Duke from 1955 to 1958. Smith is an avid outdoorsman who enjoys hunting and fishing in his free time, and he's interested in outdoor guiding as a career after his professional football career. So as you can hear, we've got 3 amazing gentlemen that we're going to be able to hear their survivor stories. After that, stick around because we are going to have a fantastic Q&A. Love the questions you have been sending in, and let's go into our survivor stories now. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all staying safe during these crazy times. I'd like to thank you for inviting me to spend a few minutes sharing my story about surviving heart disease. My name is Bob, and I survived not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 open heart surgeries. I also survived a hip replacement. I survived a paddle me back to life episode of anaphylactic shock. I survived the 2008 real estate meltdown. I survived a kidney stone the size of Rhode Island. And worst of all, I've survived male pattern baldness. Folks, if anyone knows about surviving, it's me. So anyway, like the song goes, let's start at the very beginning. In 1978, you remember 1978, last century? I was 22 years old. I was playing bass in some local bar bands and, traveling around doing that. And I started thinking, there's no future here, really, unless you make it big. So I started taking flying lessons. I wanted to become a commercial pilot. Well, to get your commercial pilot's license, they give you a fairly thorough physical. And during that physical, the doctor said, your heart, something doesn't sound right. Oh, okay. You need to go see a cardiologist. And so that's what I did. We did a catheterization, and he said, look, you've got heart disease, congenital aortic stenosis. You were born with a faulty aortic valve. I was 22. I mean, in high school, I was on the track team. I was on the basketball team. I played soccer. I was incredibly active. I jumped around on stage playing my bass, and now I've got heart disease. You know, I took care of myself. I ate right. I weighed 150 pounds. This couldn't be happening. In the prime of my life, I've got heart disease. Anyway, needless to say, my aviation career never got off the ground. And so I continued with music. And the doctor said, you know, we're going to have to monitor this. So for the next 15 years, I'd go in once or twice a year for echoes, ultrasound, whatnot, and just, you know, keep tabs on what would eventually someday be open heart surgery. And again, this was in the 80s for the most part. Fortunately, we now live in an age where procedures and knowledge and experience is obviously much better. But during that time, I having the disease affected me tremendously. Again, I'm a young man in the prime of my life. It was like a dull, nagging toothache, 24/7 in the back of my mind, like a little sing-song song, heart disease. It was just constantly there. And what I mean by that is, if I was out, you know, shooting hoops or playing or on stage, I'd always say, okay, you got to slow down, take it easy. You don't want to have an event, you know, because events sometimes don't turn out so well. So finally, in 1994, I was teaching college up in Seattle, Washington. Went for my doctor visit, and he said, Bob, it's time. So we scheduled a procedure. Now, I was 37 years old at that time, and the options for me were a mechanical valve, which of course means blood thinners, a pig valve, which of course at that time were good for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Neither of those seemed like good options that I wanted to consider. The third was the Ross procedure. Now, the Ross procedure had been invented, so to speak, in the 60s, I believe, but it had been put on the shelf because they were having issues with parts of it. It was a technical procedure. Basically, what they do is they take your diseased aortic valve, cut it out, then they take your pulmonic valve, which is about the same size, but it hasn't had the wear and tear because it's a return valve, a low-pressure valve. They use that, your own flesh, your own tissue, to replace the aortic valve. And then they take a cadaver valve, which has been properly treated and whatnot, and they replace your pulmonary valve with that. So you've got two tissue valves, one of them your own, and the idea is they won't need to be replaced. You won't need any more surgeries, and all will be good until the end of time. Well, long story short, after about 3 months, I'm getting back into shape, and I'm going to be the new and improved Bob, the $6 million man, and my pulmonary valve, the cadaver donor valve, failed. And they still don't know why, although there's a lot of speculation, and I talk about it more in a book that I wrote about this adventure. So at Christmas of that year, I took 2 weeks off, of course, from my teaching position, and had that replaced, my second surgery. 18 months later, same thing. So within a 2-year span, I had 3 open heart surgeries. And then they put me on prednisone, which is a disease in and of itself, high doses thereof. And that cost me my hip, which was replaced in 2006. And then in 2011, I was huffing and puffing again, and it was time to replace the valve. So I've had the 4 open heart surgeries. You know, a lot of people, if you've experienced it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Our bodies are not just flesh. You know, doctors are skilled, surgeons are skilled. They can cut it and sew it and put you all back together again. But there's the component that is not usually discussed very often. That's the spiritual side, the emotional side, the mental side, the healing, the interacting with other people, your personality changes. You know, I'm a member of several Facebook support groups for heart surgery. And to a person, everyone talks about, I'm no longer the same, I've changed. And I think that's true. We have a different perspective on things, on life, on relationships. We at least for myself, speaking for myself, my tolerance level for nonsense. Look, my initials are BS, right? You'd think I can handle it. I can't. I'm different. We have been dramatically and traumatically invaded. Our lives have been invaded for the purpose of staying alive. It's, like we say, it's the cost of doing business. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm alive, but I encourage people that go through this to remember it's not just existing. We don't go through the procedure so we can exist. Living is a whole different thing. Living is living. It's a daily thing. And it's not always easy. It sounds simple, but it's not easy. There's days that are rough. We get forgetful, or we hurt. I still have aches and pains I need to stretch out. But that's the price I paid for being able to talk to you right now on this video and enjoy a beautiful Las Vegas day. By the way, right now in Las Vegas, it's 64 and sunny, just like me. Okay, I stole that from David Letterman. Well, I see my 8 minutes is quickly approaching. I've got a few closing thoughts. Eat your veggies and stay away from the Foley catheter, okay? Which I also call the shish kebab. You'll understand what I'm talking about should you have a heart procedure. I wish all of you the very, very best, not only with your heart disease or maybe family or friends that might be facing this with the COVID as well. Enjoy each moment. I'm not going to go all cliche on you, but it's true. Not easy, but we can do it. And hopefully I've given you a few words that you can move on with. So again, I'm honored to have been able to spend a few minutes sharing my story with you. I look forward to hearing yours someday, and good luck to you. Thanks again.
Thank you, Rock the Heart. Thank you, Amy, for having me be part of this. My name is Brian Winslow. I'm from western part of Massachusetts, Northfield, Massachusetts, and which is pretty much as far north and as far west as you can go in Massachusetts without being in Vermont or New Hampshire. But first of all, I really want to thank everybody at Rock from the Heart for including me in this forum. It's really an honor to be able to share my story and talk about heart issues and talk about my case specifically, because it really is it's a big part of my life, and it's really something that it really means a lot to me, actually. When Amy first asked me to speak in the survivor group, I was kind of taken aback because I don't really think of myself as a survivor. My heart issue started when I was first born. I was born with a valve issue, with aortic valve issue. And it was diagnosed pretty much right after birth. I was born in Boston at Beth Israel Hospital in Boston. My parents were living in Eastern Massachusetts at the time. Fortunately, because they have some of the best hospitals in the world. And I was diagnosed pretty much on the spot. So from the time I was born until today, echocardiograms have been and heart checkups have been part of my life the entire time. So again, I was taken a little bit back by considering myself a survivor. But as I really thought about it, and really thought about my story and thought about everything I've been through, it is pretty impressive, and it is pretty true that I now that I think about it, I am a survivor. So to talk about my story, like I said, I was born in Boston, Massachusetts at Beth Israel Hospital. I was born in 1982, and my heart valve was something that was paid attention to my entire life. My parents were told very early on that at some point I would need to have some surgery, and then at some point further along in my life, I would have to have a very much bigger surgery. And if I was fortunate, I would be if everything went to plan, I would be able to live a normal life. And I can honestly say to this point, I've done that. But like I said, I was born with an aortic valve issue when I was 4 years old. I did have my first surgery. I had valvuloplasty done in my aortic valve, balloon valvuloplasty that opened up my aortic valve and made it so it was functional. And that went pretty much as planned. I was 4 years old, didn't really know what was going on, just know I had to spend a few days in the hospital and they had to take care of my heart. So that's where this whole thing, this journey for me really started. So from there on out, routine echoes. I had echoes every single year, echocardiograms, as you guys all know, every year. And those echoes were to track my aortic valve to make sure that it was functioning and doing what it should be doing. I lived a normal life. I went through sports. I played sports all through my entire childhood. And so whether it be baseball, basketball, soccer, you name it, I played it. And so growing up through high school, I played varsity athletics. I played varsity baseball, played on a lot of tournament teams. And then I went to college thinking I was gonna be a college baseball player. When I got to college, I realized, you know what? That I had some other interests and I decided not to play college baseball, but my passion for the game really never stopped. I got out of college and I graduated with a degree in communications. And I got my communications degree from Westfield State, spent a couple of years doing sales, and then I fell into teaching and I ended up getting my master's degree in education from Fitchburg State. And at the same time, I fell in love with coaching and I became a high school baseball coach. I started as a JV coach, moved up to become a varsity coach, and where I recently just gave that up, but I had been a varsity coach for a total of 6 years, and then a varsity assistant for 2 years prior to that. So I spent a lot of time coaching, teaching, doing normal things, everything that a young adult would do. I did. Again, still playing recreational sports, playing recreational softball, recreational football. Really just doing anything I possibly could. Pick up hoop. I did obstacle course races, things like that. And all the while still having annual checkups, annual echoes, and my heart seemingly never changed. And then fast forward to 2015, I'm at my annual checkup and my cardiologist looks at me. He goes, "Brian, it's time." And I looked at him. I'm like, "What do you mean it's time?" He goes, "It's time for the next surgery." And I go, at that point, it shook me like that. My whole life kind of just changed. I had 2 young kids. I have twin boys. At that point, they were 2, not quite 2. And I was going in for open heart surgery. I was going in to get my aortic valve replaced. So I went through the pre-op process. I met with my cardiologist again. I met with the cardiac surgeons. I had a cath done. I had a TEE done, all the pre-op testing. Everything looked good. My heart looked great, except for that valve that was deciding to start to fail. And despite living a normal childhood, a young adult life, eating relatively healthy and being active, the valve failed. So in December of 2015, I had a mechanical valve, St. Jude mechanical valve, implanted in my chest. I had full open heart surgery. Everything went as planned. Basically the doctor said that my heart was fine working order. Like they say, the electrical part was working, the plumbing wasn't. So they fixed They fixed the plumbing so that now the electrical and the plumbing were in sync. And so physically, I felt great. I had never felt better. I didn't realize that I had started developing symptoms because they had come on gradually. But I felt amazing physically. The biggest challenge I started to face, though, was, believe it or not, the mental health side really messed with me. I started having anxiety attacks. I started having panic attacks. And I really started having a lot of challenges mental health wise. And I did cardiac rehab. I did the exercise routine as part of cardiac rehab. They did visualization, meditation. And when I would get home, I would tell my wife, that meditation, like, it really puts me at ease, and it really makes me feel good to, like, take a step back and just relax. And she said to me, she goes, that might be something that you may need to do your entire life. And I didn't really think anything of it, but it was something I really needed to do, was pay attention to my mental health, my mental well-being, and really take care of myself on that mental side. So I met with my doctor. I met with my cardiologist. I took a stress management class at our local hospital. It was actually called the SMART class, stress management program. And these things really, really, really changed my life. They really got me centered, got me organized, got me feeling good. And I really, really felt like it really made a huge difference. I became a better parent. I became a better teacher. I became a better coach. And all of those things really came to play. And I can't stress enough to everybody that the mental health piece of taking care of yourself mentally, taking care of yourself in that aspect will change your life. And you need to do it to take care of everyone around you too. So first take care of you so that you can take care of everyone else around you. So that's my story. I still teach to this day. I still coach to this day. I'm still active to this day. And despite having to have open heart surgery at 35 years old, 33 years old, at 38 years old, I'm living a normal life. And I credit all of it to the fact that I was able to get my mental well-being in order. And I'll tell you, the hardest part of open heart surgery is not the physical well-being. It's not like the physical stuff's hard, yeah, but it's really way more important to take care of that mental health and that mental health side. So again, I want to thank everybody at Rock from the Heart for including me in this forum. It's a really great opportunity. And I hope everybody that's going to be going through surgery or has gone through surgery really becomes aware that you can do this, you can do it, and you are survivors, and you are some of the best and the most, some of the best people in the world. So thank you very much.
My name is Cam Smith. I play with the Minnesota Vikings. I was drafted by them in 2019. I went to USC, and I've always been really active. Sports have always been a big part of my life, and hunting and fishing and just doing everything I can to be outside. So when I found out I had a bicuspid aortic valve, I was just a little bit thrown off. It was news that kind of threw me off because of the fact that I've always been so active and never felt like I had any issues and never felt like there was anything that was holding me back. And then little did I know that there was. So I felt pretty optimistic about it, kind of almost like excited at the fact that, I've been playing the game of football for so long with, some would say a non-functioning heart and body. So I was really excited to get that fixed and see what I could do on the field and how my training would be taken to the next level. And so that was really what got me through the whole thing. And when I first found out It was in August of this last year, 2020, and it was weird. I had a presumptive positive COVID test, and as the days went on, I tested negative and then negative again, and they just said, hey, we just want to make sure everything's all right, so we want to do an EKG and then an echocardiogram. So we got those tests done, and as the echo came back, they saw some things that they weren't really too happy with. My heart was a lot larger than they were expecting, and just kind of some things that they didn't really like to see in an athlete. So they asked me if I'd get an MRI, and I went and got an MRI. They really didn't tell me much, and they just had some more things they wanted to go through. So when I got the MRI, I met with a cardiologist, and she started talking about what was going on, and how the things that she saw with my heart was, she mentioned it was 3 times the size of a normal heart. I had a bicuspid aortic valve with a severe regurgitation of blood. It was interesting to me. I wasn't really, I didn't really know what to think, because she had originally mentioned, hey, I think we should do a mechanical valve, and that probably means that football's done, and and really my life would change forever. So, and then she did also mention using a tissue valve, and just the differences with that, and how maybe playing football was a possibility, but we'll see. And so as I went throughout the process, a former player who had the same surgery done as I have, and a lot of other people, he called me up, and he gave me a surgeon out in Philadelphia, and I got on the phone with him, and he sounded a lot more interested in my interests and passions in my life, and how he was going to fix me, and for the fact that I could be able to do those things that I still love to do, because I'm 23 years old. I'm still young, and I'm active, and I want to be able to live my life like a normal person. And so when he had first mentioned what his plans were with me, and how he was going to try his best to repair it and have my own valve in there, and I'd be on some blood pressure medication, but nothing's like blood thinners where that would really change my life. So and he almost took it personal. Like, he's like, I'm gonna get you back on the field, I'm gonna fix you, I'm gonna make you better than ever. And that was such a great thing to hear in a position that I was in, because it was just, I want to be on the field. I had more left in my career than just than what I've put out. So it was really good to hear that. And so after surgery, when I was cleared to go back to Minnesota and be around the team, it was a great thing, because the team has been great with me, from the top to the bottom. And with some of the guys in the front office, they really supported me, and every time I'd walk by them, they'd ask what I was doing, and they'd checking up on me all the time, and they've really taken good care of me. And for the coaches and the rest of the staff to be able to allow me to be around the guys and to stay with the team, and it was just helped a lot during a time like this. So I couldn't thank the Vikings enough, because they, like I said, they have made it so much easier on me, and showed me support all the way throughout this whole thing, and I look forward to being back there in April and getting a chance to play for them again, because it's such a top-notch organization, and I really appreciate everything they've done for me. So far, recovery has been, and sometimes I feel like it's almost hard to say it, because it's been so easy. I've just kept a really, really positive mindset, and I've just looked to my friends and family for support, and to keep me level, and just focus on taking it one step at a time. And I think that's what's really helped me out, because it's a daunting task, and it's scary, and you never know what's going to happen, because there's not a lot of people, especially as athletes, going through this. So and I just focus on taking one step at a time, and it's been really great, because it's allowed me to kind of start from scratch, and to get my body hopefully better than ever, because it's, I feel fixed. I feel, and I have that thought in the back of my mind that I'm better than ever. It's a new me, essentially. So every day with the recovery process now has just been to try and build my body back. And I think I really am so fortunate to say that I didn't face a lot of setbacks or a lot of tough times. It was just kind of after about the third day in the hospital, and I was ready to get out and start moving around again. It was like, I'm just thankful for the fact that my surgeon did a great job, and God has watched over me, and he's made this whole process a lot easier than I could have ever imagined. So I'm focused on right now is getting my body back into football shape and be ready to go. Hopefully we have OTAs and I can be there in late April and start playing football again. So I'm excited about that, and that's really what's driving me and motivating me, and as well as everyone else is going through this right now, and or has gone through it, or knows people that are going through it. This having open heart surgery is never never easy to deal with. It's a lot of it has to do with the phrase, open heart surgery. It's right there. It just puts a mental note in your head, like this is going to be a real, it's crazy. I could never imagine me going through this, and I just want to motivate and inspire other people that this is just a bump in the road, and it doesn't mean you have to stop your life. It doesn't mean you have to you can't do anything the same as you used to. I believe that it makes you a better person, a stronger person. And so that's kind of really what I'm trying to do throughout this process, is just motivate and inspire others.